Hello and welcome back to another edition of the MCR. With me this morning are Thirsty, TJ, and I'm Mac. So today I want to talk about the Mitch McConnell incident of last week, where it's rumored that he may have had a stroke or a mini stroke or some kind of brain malfunction while he was in the middle of talking. And he just froze up for like 20 seconds. He had to be escorted away. He walked under his own power, but he had to be escorted away. I read one commenter saying it looked like he was getting ready to bawl. So God knows what was going on in his head at all. But, Mitch is up there in years, as is Dianne Feinstein, many others. And it's brought out calls to put an age limit on those who serve in the House and the Senate, and perhaps even the presidency. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, you remember Strom Thurmond, TJ? I don't think you do, Ken.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember him.
He was in the Senate way longer than he should have been. He was in there, I think he was 101 or 102. But for most of that time, he was mentally sharp. So I don't think age is the issue. I think it's a mental cognitive thing that needs to be addressed. You've got Fetterman, who clearly isn't right. And they knew that when he took his seat, that he wasn't right, because he had a stroke or a series of stroke. In cognizance, I'll use an example. You have AOC, who's what, 30, 32? She's not cognitively well because she's a moron. But you've got McConnell, you've got Dianne Feinstein with someone sitting next to her telling her to say aye.
Yeah.
So who's really voting? If I'm sitting next to TJ in the Senate chamber and I'm saying, TJ, say aye or nay, who's voting? You or me?
Well, this goes back to what I brought up on a previous segment of who's really pulling the strings here, because doing show preps, through the years, I've literally watched like previous segments and interviews with the resident Joe Biden, and back in the day, he was able to, not that it was an intelligent sentence, but he was actually able to bring up a coherent sentence. And now I could probably understand your granddaughter at the age of 2 better than I can him. Yeah, and like you said, I don't think it's so much a factor of the age limit, but that we really need to get to a point to where it's like, enough is enough. You've been here long enough. Let's just, because look at Hillary Clinton. How many times has she just?
Yeah.
Yeah, she almost collapsed getting into her Secret Service vehicle.
Yeah.
And that clip.
During the entire campaign, which is physically and mentally rough on any person of any age, she was falling down. She had to be practically carried to the vehicle at times. We've seen politicians fall off stages. But these people who want these term limits are not thinking ahead, because many of them are not term limits, but age limits, are not thinking that President Trump, should he be reelected in 2024, that he's going to be 80.
Hey, Mac, you referenced Feinstein. Did you see or hear the clip?
I saw the clip, yeah.
I heard it on the radio, and you can hear the aide coaching her into saying aye, say aye, say aye, And you talk
not that we ever would have, but who in California voted for the aide?
Yeah, and you talk about a puppet master, you know?
You know what? I would not be, I hope it doesn't happen, but I could see this woman literally dying during a session of the Senate.
And you mentioned Fetterman. He was at an event with Joe Biden, I want to say this past week, and he couldn't finish the one sentence. I think he was trying to say the word hungry and kept saying hanger, to the point where he said hangery. He was, he said hanger and then hangery, and then he just when I looked at the transcript, he basically stopped talking because he couldn't talk. He couldn't say what he wanted to. Maybe I don't know, but it's happening. It's happening way
well, it goes
too much.
goes to my main question, which is who's running Mitch McConnell then? If we know the aide is running, at whose behest we don't know, but the aide is running Dianne Feinstein. Who's running Fetterman? Who's running McConnell? Who's running? Even Chuck Grassley is way up there in years.
And who's running Biden? Because Biden's having his issues, and
So who's running it?
Mac, you brought up a good point of life in politics, especially the presidency. It's extremely stressful physically and mentally, because you look at, like, not that I'm a big fan of Obama, but when Obama was elected president, he was a healthy, youngish guy.
Right.
And you look at him at the end of his term, and it looked like he got put through the ringer.
Yeah, it's and you know what? He largely went untouched because the media was covering for him. But yeah, his hair was starting to turn white at a relatively early age.
Yeah.
And he
because he was 48 when he got elected, I think it was.
They've done a thing where they show the president's signature at the beginning of the term and then at the end of the term, and it's usually greatly deteriorated.
Yeah, it's my signature deteriorates at the end of a mortgage signing too. So you sign it enough, and you
want to bring a stamp.
It.
So after 8 years in the White House signing God knows how many things, it's going to deteriorate, I suppose. But unless you guys got anything else to add, I'm not for age limits.
Well,
I'm not. I don't think it's the issue.
Not so much age limits, but term limits.
I was never a term limit guy because I felt like if people wanted to vote for a particular person, they should be able to do it as many times as they like. However, now that people have started to, they're taking the job and they're acting like they're Pope. They're going to have it until they're dead.
When I heard about Mitch McConnell, the first thought that came to my mind was, whether it be Democrat or Republican, another establishment person doing what they can to stay in office.
And he says he's not leaving.
And I'm like, it's not just exclusively the Democrats, not.
Oh no.
And like I said, Mitch McConnell, and I thought, these establishment types, they just do not want to relinquish their power.
No. Well, they brought John Kennedy in to vote on a stretcher.
Yeah, I heard about.
He was suffering from injuries he gained in the war. So, unless you guys got anything else, I'm going to wrap this one up.
All right.
Okay. So, as we always say, be safe, watch your six, and don't vote Democrat.
Don't turn on me.